Namaste, Ashish ji.
Namaste, Puneet.
So good to see you.
Good to see you too. How are you doing?
I am very well, and I'm very excited about today's topic we have, which
Sure.
is about how to release based on Sedona method.
Yeah,
So before we kind of deep dive, I would like you to introduce the method briefly. What is Sedona method?
sure. So I've been doing it now for many, many years. I think I
Mhm.
was looking for something which I could basically use for my ease in doing things because I was struggling a lot. There was a lot of fear. There were a lot of anxiety and a lot of stress when I was doing things. So I was looking for a method which can actually work at a feeling level. So most of the method they actually work on a thinking level. So for me, it's like different zone. Thinking is here and feeling is here. And I think there were different zones. And no matter how much I was uh, thinking or reading the book on how to think big, how to think like a winner, how to it was not working. So I had to work on my feeling level. And that's where Sedona method came in. I think it's probably close to, since I'm doing it, I think seriously, which I started doing it probably 2016. So yeah, I was introduced, so like 8 years ago, I started doing it actively. But I think I was introduced in 2015, the method.
And so I would like to ask you a question here. What is the difference between working from the mind and the heart? I mean, I don't want to assume things here, and
Yeah,
why
sure.
we cannot change with thinking?
Yes. Yeah,
Because
that's a great question.
that's
Yeah.
the space most of us are at.
Yeah.
Either I'm thinking of doing this or not doing this, or
Yeah.
you know, trying to find the right answer. What should I do, and all those things. So, what is the inherent difference?
Yes. I think that's a great question because often we get confused that we are trying to be positive, positive thinking, positive mindset. So, what happens is when you are focusing on positive thinking, it's very temporary because really, I think even the science is proving now that feeling generate thoughts, and then thought actually can reinforce that feeling, but the ultimate source is coming as a feeling can create thoughts, and then thought can actually go in the perceive the world and then reinforce that feeling, and then feeling get higher, and then similar thought are created more, and then more perceiving happens and more that feeling is created. So if you really want to change, the best way of working on is to let go what has been stuck. So for example, there's a fixation. So I would use the word fixation, which I think resonates with me more, but it could be any word. When we are fixated on a feeling, that generates an associated fixated thinking, and that actually creates a fixated perceiving. So, person you meet or I meet, the people that we meet, have a certain type of feeling and certain thinking, and they perceive the world that way. No matter how much you tell him, change your thinking, try to be positive, wouldn't work because their feeling is stuck and they need to actually let go before they actually realize new way of looking at things.
Okay, so because I can look at it that way. That if thinking has not helped me to solve a problem, maybe I can try a different way before I even know how it is. So, where do I start from? If I'm new to this method, I know nothing. Where do I start from?
Yeah. So I think to understand the method, and Hale Doskin is the director and the owner of Sedona Method now. I don't know exactly what his title is, but he is the one who actually is the founding member of Sedona Method. So he's the one who started training 1976 under Lester Levinson, and Lester Levinson was the one who had actually formed this method. So Lester Levinson was struggling. He was given few days to live, and he was sent back from the hospital saying that some people cannot be helped. So he started to release, and the method that he used was he quickly realized that the happiest moment in his life was when he was loving. not when he was loved. The happiest moments in his life was when he was loving. So he started loving his uh, disease. He started loving whatever feelings were there. And in that love, all the feelings started to dissolve, which also, because feeling is the source of thinking. So thinking actually started to get much more clearer for him, and perceiving started to get more clearer for him. And that's how this method was created.
I feel a little perplexed at this because how can you love your disease? Like, how can I love my problems?
I think it's an interesting question. There's no straight answer, to how. It's more when we are actually looking at something with judgment that it's right and wrong, good or bad, I like it or dislike it. That creates the real suffering, right? That is not the experience per se is not good or bad. It's the meaning that we give to that experience creates that suffering or happiness, whatever we call it. Now, the way Lester described it was that he had certain feelings in his body which manifested in the form of disease. So he actually cleared those feelings, and those, I can also use the word feelings, I can use the word desires. Both are, we will talk a little bit more about them, but right now let's focus more on the feelings. So he could clear those feelings. As he cleared those feelings, his disease started to also clear, and he stayed alive for another, I think, 40 years after that incident, when he was asked and given the time by the doctor that you will not be able to survive. So by releasing, by letting go your feelings, there's a high chance that whatever has been manifested, even physically, could be cleared. And I will talk to you a little bit more about how the Eastern versus Western actually come together in this realm of thinking.
Yeah, I think that will be an interesting perspective.
Yeah.
So, how do you think? Because the little that I know about, like the modern healing methods and modalities, I feel most of the Western methods are very radical in a way. Because I feel the Eastern methods were made when bodies were very simple. Now, the modern day problems are a little different. Like, we have a lot more chaos going on. Our bodies are not as simple as, and even our minds are not as like spacious as they used to be. So, how do you like think this is a synthesis of both East and the West?
Yeah. So if you see it, like, most people are looking for good feelings. Everybody wants to be happy. That's what the. But then, how would you know that you're happy if you have never been sad? Right?
Polarity.
You need the polarity. You actually, if you're very very happy, and I'm living in New Zealand, for example, there's a best of the facilities that people would get, but they haven't actually seen the lack of it.
Hmm.
So when you don't see the lack of it, the sense of appreciation also doesn't arise. So it actually is the
First
same
world
thing.
problems, as they say, first world problems.
Yes. Yeah.
Which luxury watch to buy?
Yes. Because uh, actually, the lack and havingness, both are needed, right? Otherwise, you would not know that you have it. So to see that you don't have it, you also need to know that, you, sorry, to see that you have it, you would actually need to know that you can't have it or you don't have it. So it's important when people are working on themselves, they are clear about going to a place of peace rather than the place of I want to be happy or I want to be having more fun, or I want to be away from sadness or sickness. It's more to do with going to the peace rather than going to polarities, the dualities of the world. The more you catch this, the more you catch that. If you achieve goal, you're happy, and if you don't achieve your goal, you're not happy. So these are the polarities. But being at center, at the peace, even though these polarities are happening, is what we are talking about.
So how is peace different from happiness? Because peace feels like a positive state.
So there is a peace in us which does not have a dual state. Now, the words could be very limiting here, but I'll try to explain. I think Lester had used the word called imperturbability, which he defined that non-dualistic, like I neither attachment not aversion. The word in Sanskrit, which is shanti, is exactly that. It's non-dualistic. Yes, we can say ashanti. The one which can have opposite is still dualistic. It's not what we are talking about. We are talking about the singularity here, which is like doesn't non-dual. It doesn't have the dual perspective. It is peace. It is shanti. It is imperturbability. It is freedom. But there is hardly any word which is not dualistic. So because every word could also have a lack of it. So if I say peace, then you would say unpeaceful. If I say shanti, you might say ashanti. If I say imperturbability, there is perturbability. There is a language has a little bit barrier there, but just to give the sense of it, it's the state which is non-dual.
Neutrality.
It's a uh, I think very close word is neutrality, being neutral. But then when you look at neutral, you also have a sense that you know or considering the word today, neutral means that you don't have any let's say control, or you don't have any uh, presence, or you that's not also what we are talking about. We are talking about the centeredness, coming to the center of the wheel, which does not move, which always stays constant, where the wheel is the one which churns, which is dualistic. Could sometimes become happy, highs, lows, ups and down, good and bad, happiness, sadness. But what we are talking about is the center of the wheel. That's what we are trying to elaborate more. The more you are at that center, it becomes much easier to see the other realm of the wheel. And most people get stuck on one spoke of the wheel, and they say, no, I'm happy, I'm going to be stuck here. But like the earth moves, the wheel moves, everything is by nature moving. So when it moves, we become sad. Oh, now it's not the same spoke of that wheel. Now I'm on a different one. That is how the life keep evolving. But if you want to be constantly happy or constantly centered, that is the state of peace or imperturbability or freedom or whatever we call it. The non-dualistic is the way. So in East, we have spoken a lot about non-duality. In essence, that is what it means.
And I think it's human nature that even if I'm not on myself, I'm not centered. All of us are drawn to whosoever is closer to the center. Like somewhere unknowingly, also we are drawn.
Yeah.
And so, how to be there? Because most of the times I feel I am not centered. I am like on some spoke of the wheel. I'm going around and around.
Yeah. So there's a beautiful line, I think it was in Manduka Upanishads, and I was recently referring to it. So there are two birds on the tree, and
Painting.
yeah, and one is witnessing the other bird, and the other one is the one in the act of doing. So always that consciousness is available like that. Always. There's never a time when it is not available to us like dualistic. So There is a part of you which is thinking, and there is a part of which is observing that you are thinking. You're going somewhere, you're thinking like that. And if you see that the trigger is your feeling, wanting to be happy, or wanting to be loved, or wanting to be in control, those are the trigger. They generate feeling. So the way it works is, the desire creates feeling, feeling creates thoughts, and thoughts creates perception. And we think that, oh, if I do positive thinking, it's going to change something in my perception. Temporarily, it does, by the way. Temporarily, when you put the new thought in, you perceive new world. But the long term is working on your desire, working on your feeling, letting the thought align with the feeling, and then let it change the perception. Ultimately, when you perceive the world differently, you may see big houses everywhere, whereas I might see in the same place a lot of poverty. When people, for example, come to India, my friends would show me, which I have not noticed. I'm living in that area, but I've not noticed it, because I've got so less aware of that. I'm not looking for it. My perception doesn't see it now, but their perception does. So it doesn't mean that doesn't exist. It just means that my perceiving is less in those area. I'm perceiving something else, which is aligned to my thoughts, aligned to my feelings, aligned to my desires, and so on.
That is quite deep. So, given that I do want to change and I'm now convinced that thinking is not helping me, I've done all the thinking I could.
Oh, yeah. Yes.
So I am now like willing to try something else, which
Yeah.
is Sedona Method. So where do I begin? Simplest method.
Okay. So simplest and the simplest of all is, as I said, there are 4 levels. One level is the desire level. Second level is a feeling level. Third level is your thinking level. And the fourth level is perceiving level. Now, if you have certain desire, as I said, it will be dualistic. So there'll be a part of you would want to achieve that desire, but then the part of feeling will be actually fighting with that desire, saying it, and then
Oh,
thinking would get triggered. It's not possible. So it works like this. This is a desire, the feeling would come in, along with, feeling will come in, and along with the help of thinking, they'll fight the desire. And the desire suddenly sort of get blocked, and then it suddenly doesn't get the power or the flow that the desire would like to have. If you allow the desire to sort of get along with the feeling and the thinking, go like that, there are very, very high chances it'll manifest.
okay. So in fact, yesterday I was having this conversation with a friend. We were talking about fragmentation of the world at large. Like it's one world, but different countries. Everyone wants something else, and within a country, the states want something else, communities want something else. And then we came down to talking about it in this way that even if an individual is also fragmented, I may decide this is not good for me, I will not do it, but then I may still be doing it. So this fragmentation, in light of what you just said, is more like that the desire and the feeling are not aligned. So I desire something else, but I'm feeling something else. So one part of me is going in this direction, the other part is going in this direction.
Correct.
So
So
how
you're
to like bring them back?
so you're sending mixed signal. So you are basically putting one channel on the TV, and then immediately switching to the other channel. And one channel is, let's say, talking about how great things are. The other channel is talking how bad they are, and now they're conflicting in our own mind. And you would see, and I have experienced that people who have done well have actually not got too much content that they have used. They've actually used their own desire as a guide. And they will talk about how they actually had the desire. The desire also had a purpose, which again amplifies the desire. So if you have a desire, it has a bigger purpose to serve the planet, serve the people. So desire, then it gets a purpose. Your feeling is aligned that I really want to do it. And then thinking gets aligned. How do we do it? And then perceiving actually goes and finds the right website or right course or right person, and then bring that to the consciousness. So we basically become more like a transmitter, and then person who matches that transmission receives it and comes to us. So that's what whole Sedona method is based on, that if you have a desire and there are conflicting feelings to that desire, release them. Conflicting thoughts to that desire, release them. Conflicting perceiving that you have, release them. So you basically open the channel for desire to go and manifest itself.
I have another question here. You know, with the different methods that I have worked, and I felt that whatever we do, it makes us feel better for some time. And it's like the original, like way of being an individual, like kind of, comes back to.
Yeah,
It's like a spring, the way my personality is. Say, I
yeah,
can compress it, be a
yeah,
certain like different dimension, but most of the times I would go back.
yeah.
Say like about doing any regular daily practice and all those things. So I feel the effect is very transient. So how is Sedona method different?
Yeah. So even in your case, when you are, let's say, doing something and the effect is like a spring, you'll have to first see at which level have you been working on. Was it on the physical level, which is perceiving level? Were you working at a thinking level? Were you working on a feeling level? Or working at a level of a wants or desires? Which level were you working on? First, that is a clarity that you would need
How
to.
would I know what level? Because when you said desire, I've
Yeah.
seen that for a lot of people, the relationship with religion is about desire.
Hmm.
That I want this, so for 40 days I will like
Yeah.
kind of pray to this god, or
Yeah.
like I will this mantra these many times because I want something. So desire, I'm understanding that I want something which is an outcome probably. So how do I know I'm working on other things, say feeling or perceiving?
Yeah.
Could you like explain that a little more
Yeah.
so that we get better
So see,
hang of it?
see, see, you have a desire that is coming up, right? But as you said, there are conflicting feelings are also coming up that it is only temporary. The thought is coming up that it will not last. I will not do it continuously, for example. So that is conflict happening to the desire. So the desire is being fighting your feelings and thoughts, which you have actually used from past. So you have taken some memory and created some information that I have this feeling, this desire, these thoughts. And if I have this desire, it will not manifest because I am not ready. I am not doing enough. I'm not doing having enough, and I'm not being enough. So you basically fight with the desire. It's like this, like you have a seed that you have put under the soil, and you have also not created the environment for the seed. So it's basically you're putting the seed with little bit of soil around it, but rest all is sand. And then you are watering the sand, thinking it is going to, manifest. And then you say, yeah, temporarily it grew. Yeah, it will grow temporarily because it has little soil. Your job, my job is, have we created that groundwork for that desire, which is the seed in this case, to become a tree? We are not the one who are actually manifesting the desire. We are the one who's providing the right set of feelings, thoughts, physical body, and right side of perceiving for that desire to manifest. So that's, I think, the confusion often is that we have desire because we see somebody else have it,
Yes.
but that is not the real desire. Like it's like this: the mango tree is saying, "Why can't I be a banana tree?" Right? The desire of a mango tree is to manifest itself as a mango tree.
Mhm.
The banana tree has a desire to manifest as a mango tree or banana tree. The coconut tree has a desire to manifest as a coconut tree. What is your core desire? Is as one of the exercises that we do, which is called what is your heart's deepest desire? What is your desire, which is unmanifested right now, but when you actually work for that desire or have that desire, once that is clear, then you clear your runway. You clear your feelings, you clear your thoughts, you clear your perceiving, and you allow that thought to have the runway to manifest itself quickly.
And it's just intriguing, like kind of looking at it this way,
Yeah.
like what actually goes on, because I feel whenever we are trying to bring about some change or achieve something, we indulge in so much effort in it.
Hmm.
There's so much effort that it's like I'm pushing my way through,
Yeah.
and it becomes very frustrating when things
Yeah.
do not change.
Yeah.
And in fact, this is a very deep question. I feel that what is my heart's deepest desire? Because most of us feel so disconnected with our true selves that even if someone asks me that if you could have anything, what would you like to have? Most of the times, people are not able to, like, really
Yeah.
come up with something
Yeah.
which they would still agree to, like, say, after 24 hours.
Yeah. So this is a very good example. So now when you look for your desires, if the source is outside, not the inside source, the source is outside you, it's being sold to us that if you have a big car, if you have a big house, there's nothing wrong in that. But maybe that is not what is your desire. That is not the tree or the seed that you would like to put in the soil or in the land. What you really want to first work on is what is your heart's deepest desire. Just take a pen and paper, and for 21 days, you write whatever you want to do. And that's what I did when I did one of Hale's course. I don't remember when. I think it must mean. So I started writing every day for 21 days. What is my heart's deepest desire? By the time I reached the day 14, 15, I started to get a very good clarity. What is my heart's deepest desire? And by the time I reached 21 days, I was very, very clear what I wanted to do. And immediately that was manifested because I had a clarity of thought. When the more clearer we are, there are more higher chances that it will manifest. But if we do, like, today we want this, tomorrow we want this, then third day this, and then we create one more, I would use the word belief, which is a combination of feeling and thought and emotion. So it's basically a bundle, which what it does, first we have a belief as a thought. It goes as a feeling and then becomes an emotion, and that emotion generates a feeling that generates the thought, and that thought again generates that emotion feeling. So it goes in like that belief. And then we start believing that no matter how hard I try, I can't do it for a long time. No matter how hard I try, I am not able to solve this. Others are able to solve it, but I'm not. And that actually goes out in the world and starts perceiving, and what you just said, it starts perceiving your failures and starts recording them to support that belief, because belief in a way is an identity which likes to support itself to live. So belief actually goes and perceives to support it more. So whenever you will fail, it will record one more data, and it will start to make the neuron fire together and create that world inside you. You would think, yes, I'm failing, but it's not you are failing. That belief is now becoming stronger. That idea of thought, feeling, emotion is just a deeper feeling. It's not very different. The idea of that coming together now, sort of locking together, and then you start to see that this is who you are. You are not that. It's a belief that is just operating temporarily. If you see that, you can actually let that belief go. And once that belief is gone, you have a new perception. And then you start
So
seeing new
just
world.
the other day I was reflecting and I had this awareness where I felt that life is more like a stream or a river. It's flowing in one direction, and unless some effort is being made to change the direction, it does not change. It keeps going the same way. So, say if I have that feeling that I'm a failure, whatever I try to do, I'm not able to do it, I'll keep going that way. The river will keep flowing that way, even though that belief does not make me happy. It does not take me to a neutral space. It brings me pain because I want to be successful, but I somewhere perceive that I am a failure. So is it lack of knowledge that we stay in that unhappy space, in that sadness, do most of the times, or is it choice, or is it both?
I think it is lack of, number one, awareness that I am not belief. That is, I think, the most important thing. For example, there is a difference between it is my belief or it is our belief. I think we did spoke about that briefly before as well. When you say it's my belief, you will support that perception. That belief could be as small as your home, it could be your company, it could be your religion, it could be anything. That that belief that when you hold influences your perception because it's my belief. Now, belief when it goes out in the world, it influences the perception. But when it is within us, it creates an identity. We think that we are that identity. So let me go a little bit deeper on this. Is an important point. So when, let's say, you are in office, you are a different person. When you are at home, you would be a different person. As the context is changing, the belief is shifting. So you could be very patient at work. Many people who are very patient at work are quite different at home. Let me put it this way. You see them, they are very calm at work, and when suddenly they're at home, they are completely opposite. Because the belief which is triggering in that context is creating that identity. We think that I am that identity, which is constant. We don't see that it's a moving identity. If you are in this context, you have a different identity. Now, the debate always is that many people say that I want to change my context. Means if you are not in a happy marriage, you want to change the context and find someone else. And there are sides of that. If you're in a home, you're not happy in the home, you want to change the context. You will go to a new place where you'll generate new feelings, it'll generate new thoughts, and you will suddenly think that comparatively you're happy. But then if you look inside, if you are able to change your belief, your identity, that can actually change the context because the perceiving could change. If and either it will change the context or it'll change the internal world for that context. So we are talking in Sedona method about changing that internal world so that the context doesn't bother us as it was. So that state of centeredness, peace, or imperturbability is available, and we are holding that space, and whatever is happening doesn't really affect us.
In fact, in my experience, whenever we are trying to change the context, invariably we create the same
Correct.
situation.
Correct.
Invariably.
That's the challenge with changing the context, because the belief is still there. So it's like this, that you are uh, you're fixing the exterior of your car to look new, but the
But the
problem
engine,
is actually is in the engine. So until you get that fixed, the car would still, even no matter how many paints you do, the car will look nice for a few days. It'll be standing in the parking and you'll feel good about it. Now I fixed it. Everything is great. But when the problem is in the engine, the car would not run as much as you fix whatever you fix.
And this is giving a rise to another question. So, how you name them? Like working from, if I remember, first was thinking, and then was feeling,
Yeah.
and then it was what we,
Emotions, desires.
and the deepest was, you said, perceiver.
The
So,
perceiver
is
is
it the
where how we see the world. So now if I relate this with the Eastern world, which is where is the Sankhya philosophy. In Sankhya philosophy, it's about the sensory world and the action world. So one is a karmic body, and the other one is jnana body, means the one which receives information, like eyes receive the information, ears receive the information, smell, the taste, the touch. And there is an action body, which is the physical body when it's doing the action. So it could be like mouth, hands, legs. So those are the action body. Now, when we receive the information, and by the time the action happens in the world, there is something that happens inside us which will accept this information that has come in to act or not act. So perceiving happens at the sensory level. Then perceiving actually is given to thinking. Then thinking gives it to the feeling, emotions. And then it actually goes to our intellect, which the world of desires. Should I do it? Should I not do it? But below that world, everything is complete, enough,
whole?
whole, being. So when the desire arises, before the desire arises, we are whole. We think by completing the desire, we will be whole, without realizing that before even the desire came in, we were whole. And if the desire is not there, we are whole. But then we get into this cycle that, no, I complete this desire, then I'll be whole. And that's the cycle of getting into that wheel.
So it's more like that the solution to the problem is going to a state of not having the problem, not the actual solution.
Absolutely. Because if you see, the problem arises, before that, it was a non problem, it was non existing. Suddenly, it becomes a problem. And then it churns, constantly. Then we want to solve it so that it becomes non problem. And then when it becomes non problem, we pick up another problem. And then we want to solve that as well. And then it becomes a non problem. So it's a constant cycle. But to see how the problem arises from that point, which is the point of imperturbability, or the point we could say the state of nirvana, or the state of non-doing, from that non-problematic state, becoming aware that now the problem is arising, helps you let go much faster. Because Lester actually came up with this, that he said there are three wants: wanting approval, wanting control, and wanting to be safe. When they arise, we actually go out in the world to seek more approval. We go out in the world to get more control. We go out in the world to get more safety. But if they don't arise, we are already having safety. We already have approval. We already have control. It's a little bit twisted in the concept of, if the desire is not there, we are whole.
If the desire is not there, we are whole.
Want
So this,
want is the lack. I think we have used that a lot as well.
so where, how do I get started? Like, say whatever I have used till now, it's not helping. And maybe I was working on thinking level. So now should I start working on emotion? Should I start working on perceiver level or feeling level? Like, how do I choose what to work?
Yeah. I think first level to start with is always feeling level. So, for example, let's say pick up a topic. You have any topic that you would like to work on? Just
Say money. I want to work on money. Like I'm not happy with my money situation.
money. Okay. So what you would do is actually first, in your perceiving, you see that probably the money is lack of money or whatever the world around you, the perceiving is happening a lot around money. So you would go and check what thinking has caused this, right? Now, that thinking will have underlying feeling. And then you have uh, three questions that you ask. Could I welcome that feeling? Could I let it go? And would I let it go and when? So that's the Sedona method, 4 questions that you ask. So you release that feeling until you can see that thought, which was creating that perception, has started to now lose its power. And now even that thought is coming up, you're not really feeling as anxious. The thought is coming, but the feeling is now not there. The thought will not have power.
Okay. So say I have like lack of money and underlying feeling is sadness.
Yeah.
So I welcome the sadness, I release it. And is it that simple to change it?
Yeah.
Like,
So,
and how many times do I have to keep doing it?
yeah.
Does it happen once or like many
Yeah.
times?
So the way, this is like everybody adapts the method to their own world, right? So for me, what works is I take the thought which is creating that perception. So, for example, let's say money is hard, for example, that the perception, that's an active thought. So I would write that down, and then I would say, okay, it's generating a feeling of sadness. So I'll allow myself to feel sad, and then I'll ask myself the questions: could I let this feeling go? Would I let this feeling go, and when? And release until we start feeling good. Keep bringing the thought again, check the feeling, keep bringing the thought, check the feeling. Initially, it will take longer, but slowly you will see when the thought is coming up, the feeling is not coming. And that's the time that thought is now released. There is a idea for new perception is now possible. Then you take second thought about money and you check your feelings. And then you keep releasing the feeling. First, you welcome them, feel the feeling. Then you ask, could I let this feeling go? Would I let this feeling go, and when? But at the same time, remembering we are not fighting with the feeling. Because if you're fighting, you are conflicting the feeling again. So you're not in a conflict with the feeling. You are releasing the feeling. And if it is harder to release, just keep welcoming it until it starts to lose the energy. And then you will see that thought is also now started to lose energy. And when the thought has lost the energy, it allows us to see new perception, create a new perception in the world. Same world, just a new perception.
Okay, so question now. Whenever I've tried to use such methods where I have to like think and like it's not exactly thinking like this thing, but I'm working with my mind, kind of asking questions. I feel usually I get lost. Like after a few minutes, I'm thinking about like what to like, have for
Yeah.
breakfast tomorrow.
Yeah.
So like how to like kind of, stay focused on this? Is writing the questions a good idea? Or working with someone, like how to keep doing it? It's very easy to get distracted.
Yes. Yeah. It is. Yeah. Because as I said, the belief has some energy, right? So belief will try to fight you, right? So we will think that, okay, belief is saying, let's not do it now. Let's take a coffee or have a quick break. So it's good to do it with people as a partner, to do release regularly with a partner. That's number one way. Of course, second way is to write on paper. whatever feeling is coming up, you write on the paper and release that feeling. And you have some audios as well, so you put the audios, yeah, and release. If the belief is coming very strongly for the distraction, that exactly is the belief that we would like to release on,
Okay.
because that's now getting triggered. So we don't want to avoid it. You, you want to write that belief down, which is, for example, saying, let's take a break now and do something else. So you write that down. See the triggering feelings, like it's boredom. Probably you're feeling bored. Welcome that feeling. Now just release it. Keep asking the question until you feel now the energy is now shifting. And then you look at the thought again and see if it is still charged. You keep releasing the feelings which are coming up. And then once the thought becomes deactivated, you can see that you will have more focus, more energy. And then you can decide whether you want to take a break or not. But you're not allowing the belief to control you. You are taking the decision whether you want to take the break or not. There's a difference. Once his belief is controlling you, the other method is you are controlling your own self.
So, just recapping till now what I understood. So I can choose like whatever I want to change and kind of write down my belief that this is what is coming in the way. Say the example I gave was money. So say money is difficult for me to earn money, or it's difficult for me to save money. And then ask myself, what is the underlying feeling? And I start working from there. I welcome the feeling. I ask like, would I let it go? Could I let it go?
And when, yeah.
And I keep doing it sequentially. And if anything else is coming in the way, I'm constantly finding myself thinking about something else. So it will be a good idea to release on that
If
before
it
I
is
proceed.
coming very strongly, it's a good idea to welcome that also. But then the good process is you allow all feelings which are coming up, but which is actually the later on stages part. In the beginning, it is good to welcome only one feeling, release it, and then take the next one, because all what we are doing is we are putting a label on the feeling. We don't know that feeling is what. We don't. It's just an energy. When we are putting a label on the feeling, it's like, I think there was an experiment that they did with the water, that there was some.
Photo.
Yeah, yeah. So he abused the water. The water became like. So similarly, when you have a feeling, and the moment you put label on it, your judgment also comes along with that. That, okay, this is a feeling, I need to quickly get rid of it, for example. So in the beginning, you would put labels just so that you can identify that this is a feeling separate from me. But as you get more clearer about it, it'll just come and go, and it'll become sort of second nature. Without you need to do the process or put a label, it'll come up and you'll become aware, oh, there's a wanting control right now coming up. Okay, I don't need to do anything. It's the moment we are aware, it's just gone.
So what to expect? I mean, I would like to ask you, with your experience, once you started releasing, did you experience a sudden change, like, or was it like it happened over time? That you were feeling better, otherwise also things were changing, whatever you were releasing on. How was your experience like?
No, definitely it was a slow process in the beginning. It took a lot of time, a lot of understanding, a lot of unlearning, because I was always about working hard.
Not having it easy.
Yeah, not having it
Second
easy.
way of thinking.
Struggle is, what we need. The struggle. We need to do it right. Being fearful about how I'm being perceived. Am I being perceived weak? Am I being perceived strong? Will I be loved or not loved? So all those thoughts would churn in my mind a lot. So what I started doing is, initially I start before would go for any meeting, even if I'm meeting one person, I would release on that person. So there is a cleansing process on a person. So I would do that, even though I have not met that person before. this is the first time I'm meeting the person, but there might be still something, feeling wise, because feeling is the trigger, right? So when you're meeting the person and your only thoughts, it's easy. But when the feelings are very strong, you actually try to hide and suppress those feelings from that person. So if he shouldn't know that I'm feeling this way, or so I would release that. I would get into the calm state and then meet that person. So often, what happened is when I met the person in a calm state, all probably 90%, 99% of the time, the meeting happened quite well because I was very present. I was not like going here, feeling this way. He said this, now I'm triggered like this. I'm believing that he likes me or not likes me. I'm not there to ask his approval. I'm not asking his control from him. I'm not asking for safety. I'm just present. So I'm more like in a state where I'm all loving. And I think the person feels it. And that's how we also connected. Like when we connected, it was all, there was nothing, no judgments or anything. It was just, we met and we immediately connected. And in that space, it becomes very intuitive. You're not planning anything. It's very intuitive that, okay, this is the person I would like to connect with, and this is how this might proceed. If it doesn't proceed the way I had desired, I'm also okay. I'm hootless. I'm imperturbable. If it goes my way, great. If it doesn't go my way, great.
Yeah.
Then what? Then how would you fail? Then you won't fail, right?
So I have another question here, which came to my mind. Uh, See, everyone has a sense of identity, and a lot of it is derived from my beliefs. Say, my belief is that I have to work hard to earn money. For example, I'm just giving an example here. So, will letting go be difficult because that is my identity? That Puneet has worked very hard, or she's rarely like seen hard times, and the kind of justification we have for being what we are. Does that get in the way of releasing, or is releasing a choice? That okay, I had this belief, but now I let it go. Because I'm asking this question because there's a lot of conversation around subconscious beliefs, and I have seen, like, we were just talking about how we recreate context. Say I'm unhappy with one person, I leave this person and I see another person. Okay, this is the right one for me, and 6 months down the line that relationship is very similar to what it was with person A. Person B becomes the same person. So is most of this work conscious? It's related to conscious beliefs, or does it like seep into the subconscious mind as well?
See, I think I I'm not really, I would say, um, for supporting this subconscious. This might be a little bit contradictory, but I can still share my thoughts. I'm not really for the subconscious and conscious. The thoughts which we are conscious are the conscious, and the thoughts which we are not conscious are subconscious. But we are the one responsible for putting them there in the first place. So saying this is subconscious and I'm being controlled by something which is outside my power is not really taking responsibility. Taking responsibility that I have put this thought there, I've put this feeling there. I need to now, because I have put this there, I am the one who can actually now let it go. So it gives you much more better awareness. So I think this is breaking it into conscious, subconscious. I don't know. There are many like universal conscious and that, so sort of many levels. Super conscious, yeah. I see it like this. You have a library. I have a library of books. There are some books I'm right now not reading, but those are not in my conscious. Though they are in my library, but they are not in my conscious. But doesn't mean that they are like light is switched off on them. When I switch on the light, when I scan, and it's still there, I can just take it out and let it go. But then it's again a beautiful thing is we are only conscious of only 2000 bits of data. whereas I think mind processes 400 million bits per second. So 400 million bits per second brain is processing. We are only aware of about 2000 bits. See the gap. So if you want to access and see what's beneath, just ask the question. The thought will appear, the feeling will appear. You don't have to bring it up. Like a lot of people, when they're releasing, they force their mind to, bring the thought up. You just wait for, you ask the question, you wait for thought to arrive. You wait for the feeling to arise. And then you do the process. You don't force the feeling, okay, now I'm feeling this way. Now I'm feeling sad. So I'm going to force the process. No, you just ask the question and let the question do the magic. And you let the question take care of the process. And
Let them
slowly,
take care of the process.
yeah.
Okay, say something, some X situation appeared in my life and I'm out of it. And down the line, again, I'm creating that X situation and I don't know the thought. Like, then I can ask, okay, whatever it is, like, no need to kind of bring it up. I can ask, okay, whatever it is, I'm willing to release. Will that also work?
I think, again, this is something that you'll have to experiment with your, this one. But I think the way it works for me is, I would, let's say there's something I'm doing in my work and something's not working. I'm stuck somewhere. So I would look at it and I would just ask the question, how did I create this? And I'll wait for the thought to come up. So initially there'll be like a lot of conflicting thoughts coming up. I generally write them down, but then suddenly I would see there is a thought that'll appear very strongly that uh, I've always believed that this is until this point I can do, for example. So I will write that down, then I'll check what feelings are there, what emotions are coming up, what is the underlying desire for it, and I'll see if it is now losing its power. Once it loses its power, the feelings are gone, the associated feeling, the loop, basically the thought, the feeling, the emotion, the desire, that loop is now gone, it's cleared. Now I can perceive differently the same thing where I was stuck. Now suddenly the new idea arises. Idea was always there. It's just that because of this loop of thought, feeling, emotion, desire, wants, I couldn't see that. And I was feeling I'm stuck. So I would just release that. Suddenly it's much more clearer. My board is much more clearer. Now I suddenly see new things.
Because in my experience, like, even I don't know if that subconscious, supraconscious, how true is that? But what I have experienced is that at any time we process only as much feelings or emotions as we can handle, and progressively as I become, say, emotionally more regulated, like I become like stronger, I'm able to handle more. My mind kind of opens up more files. So rather than having to dig it up, as much as I can handle, like that much like data comes up. Because dissociation is something, sometimes people who are in traumatic situations or something like this, a sense of dissociation as a way of the mind trying to protect itself, that we kind of forget. So somewhere the files are still there, but there is no conscious memory of those things.
Yeah.
And at times, I mean, it's like, being the mind detective, I feel some things come from that place where I'm not trying to avoid, as I was talking about it, the X situation. I wasn't even consciously trying to avoid it, because time and again I hear that whatever you try to avoid, you end up recreating it. But when such a thing does happen, you kind of you try to like find a rational explanation for it.
Yeah. And I think uh, we meet same type of people, we find the same type of jobs, we find the same type of things in our life, and the reason is that there is something inside us which is creating
Seeking
that.
resolution.
Yeah. Because there is I think it is a quote from Rumi which says, what you are seeking is seeking you. And I think it's beautiful. Like, we are creating that perception which is now seeking us. What we are seeking in the world is also seeking us. We just have to be more clearer, more runway needs to be more clearer. And Lester has beautifully created a process which is now being around for more than 50 years or maybe more, maybe 60 years or so. And probably the only process that I think I found which works on the level of feelings. And for me, I think it is all about. I have also done a lot of other things. I have worked a lot on physical level with yoga. I still do yoga. I did a lot of mental work with coaches, therapies, and going to people, discussing and attending courses. Feeling level, I couldn't find any. Emotional level, they were all working with the mindset that emotions and feelings are not good. So you basically need to have good emotions and not have bad emotions. Whereas for me, I don't need either, because you release good and you release bad, then what you are left with is what I'm seeking. And from that space, we can see the desire. We can also see judgments. Once that is all clear, that wholeness arises. And it's amazing. I don't think there is anything else which makes me happy. So when I'm in that state, it's beautiful. But at the same time, I have goals I want to achieve. I want to manifest. I want to do things. But then knowing, even if I achieve it, nothing is going to really drastically change because that whole is already complete.
Oh,
Yeah. But the whole is enjoying creating something new. And that's the fun part. I think that's a good journey to have, to enjoy both, being at peace, not doing anything, non-doing and doing.
thank you. I mean, it's wonderful sharing today with us. And I remember last time you gave us the homework of writing, the
Yeah.
beliefs about these things. So this time we have a tool to work on them.
Yeah.
Like the
So
4 questions you gave us, like whatever
yes.
is the
Yeah.
feeling,
Yeah.
underlying feelings to my beliefs, I can start releasing on that.
Yes.
So thank you so much. We'll continue this, I think, next time.
Sure. I think we'll continue this. Yeah, it might be useful for people who are even doing the method and maybe the new ones who are interested. So we can
Yes.
actually go a little bit more be deeper if required on any of the 7 topics which are based on the questions.
Sure. Thank you so much.
Thank you.